Hello YouTube, I am a massive fan of gross out toys, and this is probably one of the best known gross out toys that has ever been made. This is Rude Ralph. It was made in the 1980s by a company called AXLON Toys. Very similar to things like Madballs, which I also love. I've got all the head popper Madballs figures, and they were made by Toy. Rude Ralph I had wanted for a very long time, and I kept an eye out on, the listings on eBay and that sort of thing. And I've only ever really seen ones that are in really quite bad condition. And I was looking out for a particularly good one, which I think this one is. There are a few kind of scrapes and things here and there, but I might end up kind of touching those up a little bit because I think I can hide those, like on his wart. There's a bit of orange missing on the end of his nose, but his teeth are in really good condition, and his lips, that sort of thing. The eyeball is a thing that normally gets kind of scraped along the ground and has scratches all over it, but this is a particularly good one. One thing I hadn't realised about Rude Ralph, because I'd only ever really seen images of it from the front where it looked like a ball, so I assumed the whole thing was really round, but when you look at it, his face is actually quite kind of stretched. It's a really odd looking thing, but I love it because of that. Also, look at the nose, it's really squashed over to one side, and yeah, just really quirky. The holes in the ears are because you could pull out its eye, and its eye is on a cord, and then when you release the eye, it makes a sort of weird gurgling noise, and the sound comes out of the ear holes, which is a pretty cool touch. One day I plan to display him in a cabinet along with all my Madballs Head Popper figures, and also things like Touchdown Terror, which was another Madballs thing that's a bit like an American football shape, but it's got a face on it as well, like with big teeth and everything. Quite a gruesome looking thing. And also the Madballs Rollercycle, which is a pretty cool toy. I thought by picking him up in this video and holding him in my hand, it would give you guys some sense of the scale. So he's a lot bigger than a sort of typical Madballs ball, which is about the size of a tennis ball, I guess. And he's quite a lot smaller than a basketball, but he's still pretty big. And I reckon any kid that took him to school in the 80s would get some looks, that's for sure. I also love the colour scheme on this with the sort of green skin. That again just adds to the grossness, and I also love his hair. It's really kind of similar to the hair that you would get on one of those troll dolls, which I also love. So I never owned one of these back in the 80s, but I was into Madballs back then, and I did also collect Garbage Pail Kids Stickers. So obviously when I started collecting back that sort of thing, it's obvious that this was going to kind of get flagged up on my searches, and as soon as I saw him I was like, yeah, I've got to add him to the collection. And although he's not hugely expensive, I still kind of see him as one of my kind of grail toys. Normally when you say grail toys, they are toys that are really out of reach. They're ones that are like thousands of pounds that probably I'm never going to ever own, but ones that I can kind of keep my eye open for, in the massive hope that maybe one day I'll find them like at a car boot sale or something for really cheap and just get an amazing bargain. But yeah, toys like this, you just have to buy them when you see them and they're in good condition. Just got to sort of jump on them and buy them before they go up even more in price. If you've come to this channel before, you may know that I make movie creatures, and I also made some giant Madballs recently, where I basically took the designs from the original Madballs and I made them the size of basketballs. And you might think, why didn't I just make this guy? Because I could have done quite a good job, I think, of matching the shape of him, but I decided not to because I wanted to have the actual toy. And it's the same with things like, there's a couple of really rare larger, what are called super Madballs, that are the size of basketballs. One of them is called Foul Shot. I suppose actually they're technically footballs. The other one's called Goal Eater. And so again, I could just make those, and that would save me a fortune. But I just really like the idea of trying to find them one day and adding the actual toys to my collection. I think when you start collecting vintage toys, half of the fun of it is like the thrill of the chase. It's like, where are they going to pop up, and how much are they going to be? Am I going to be able to find them at a really, really nicely cheap price and get them for a bargain? And when you do, it's just such a cool feeling. So just that whole searching all the time, looking out for things, and just knowing what the toys are. You get used to what everything is, you get used to what's rare, and then you know what to look out for. And then imagine if, like, you're at a car boot sale and something like this popped up and you didn't know what it was and you didn't bother buying it. And what if you just said to the person, how much is that? And they went, oh, you can have it for 50p. It's something you would miss out on. So it is worth researching these things, because I see so many things at car boot sales and people just almost give them away, not realizing what they are. They go, oh, it's just a plastic figure, or and they don't realize it's like a really rare 80s toy. So definitely worth knowing. Anyway, check out my other 80s toy videos if you get a chance. Hit subscribe to see anything that I post up in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.